Thanks for clicking on the video. If you like what you hear, please drop a comment and say hi. It'd help me out a lot.
She still shields them, curls around them like a dying beast clutching its spawn. The voice echoed like wind across frozen stone, high and brittle, from a spirit wrapped in glacier and glare. Therin of the glass moon. Billions of revolutions, another added, cloaked in writhing solar plasma. Koran of the fifth sun. And they still scrape rock with fire, draw lines in soil, kill each other for pieces of colored metal. They gathered in the halo beyond, the convergence where planetary spirits convened, luminous threads weaving between them like thought-made light. Giants of flame, vapor, pressure, void. She should have let them burn out, murmured one, ancient and ringed with orbiting debris. There is nothing left for them. Then came the question. A mocking exhale disguised as curiosity. Why does Gaia still harbor primitives? Laughter stirred like a solar wind gusting through dust, until it met resistance. Not a word, a sound. But not theirs. Rough, cracking, deep as tectonic shift. From the mist-shrouded edge of the gathering rose a being cloaked not in brilliance, but in shadow, soil, storm cloud, root, ash and rust. Gaia. Her form was not symmetrical. Her mantle rippled with molten veins. Her shape changed with each breath, mountains rising and falling in her silhouette, rivers threading across her shoulders. She had the look of something old enough to be angry, and patient enough to have earned it. Primitives, she echoed. The mirth in her voice was not joy, it was grit sharpened over time. You call them that because they refuse your temples, because they do not kneel when you pass above their skies, because their hands are still bloodied with the lessons I made them learn. She drifted forward, slow, tectonic. You look down upon me for the fires I endured, for the quakes that split me, for the ice I swallowed to survive. You see weakness. A pause, then a whisper, warm with bitterness. I see preparation. The spirits quieted. Gaia's voice deepened. Less thorn, more root. I shaped them with trials, with silence, with storms, but more than that. I seeded the land with mirrors of you. That broke the silence. She raised a limb like a continent rising. Creatures with jaws like your predators. Insects that swarmed like your hives. Eyes that hunted in darkness like yours do from orbit. Scales like your waterborne. Shells like your desert kin. Minds bent on survival so they could meet yours and not blink. She did not shout. She simply stood, glowing faintly from within, like magma veined beneath forest and sea. And when they learned to hunt what I placed before them, I set them upon each other. Not to destroy, but to sharpen. Another pause. You speak of peace as if it's a gift. I taught them it was a reward. Her form unfurled. Storm, fire, forest, decay, light. They are not delayed, they are tempered. And now, she leaned forward, voice soft and terrible. They are ready. The halo beyond pulsed with a strange silence, not absence but weight. Gaia's words didn't just land. They settled. Even the stars seemed to burn a little dimmer. For a moment, no spirit spoke. Then a voice rose, slow, contemplative, coiled with centuries. Velthera, keeper of spiral minds. A spirit shaped from pressure and psychology. Her planetary form, a world where telepathic networks bloomed across root-like infrastructures beneath her oceans. She did not mock. She observed. You claim intent, she said carefully, that these predators, these weapons, these storms were tests. Gaia did not reply. So Velthera continued. You shaped them with fear, with hunger. You let them bleed one another and called it refinement. And now you say they are ready. Ready for what, Gaia? Others began to shift. Koran's flames dimmed slightly. Therin's surface cracked, just once, a shimmer of uncertainty. Another voice joined. Rashtal, the molten-boned god of twin moons, orbiting a world split by war. Even now, they do not unite. They fracture. They devour themselves in cycles. What species, built in your image, destroys its own? Gaia turned slowly, her form glowing beneath pressure like coal about to become diamond. The kind that understands power, she said. The kind that learned early that trust is not freely given, it is earned. They fractured so they would not grow arrogant, so they would challenge each other, so they would not reach too soon and draw the wrath of gods like you, before they were strong enough to answer. A breeze swept through the void. No air, just presence. And Gaia stepped forward again. You speak of unity because you were born into harmony. I was born into noise. I did not silence it. I let it teach them rhythm. They fight, yes, but now they fight with memory, with consequence. And when they fall, they do not vanish, they change. Do your children change, Rastal? She asked softly. Or do they wait for someone to tell them where to march? The lava-wrapped spirit seethed, but did not speak. Because even he remembered the first time a human fleet emerged from the dark without warning. Gaia was still, but her voice remained. You taught yours to obey, I taught mine to ask why. The halo beyond shimmered, not with light, but memory. Gaia's shape rippled and something began to form in the space around her. Not metaphor, not symbol. A beast, coalescing from mist and bone, thick-jawed, fanged, eyes forward, breath like steam over ice. Its shape was familiar, not because it was known, but because it was remembered. Corin's flame hissed, Theron's mirrored form rippled, Velthera's thought thread trembled like disrupted sonar. That, Corin began. That is extinct. We crushed those on Ossel 3 before my atmosphere cooled. Yes, Gaia said softly. Yours were slow, stupid. They lumbered toward their prey like stone avalanches. The beast before them, Gaia's version, moved, fluid, precise, evolved. I made mine better. Another formed beside it, smaller, faster, sleek, eyes sharper, bones lighter, claws that curved not for defense but strategy. They did not know language, Gaia continued, but they knew patience, they knew tactics, they knew silence before the strike. I scattered them across my forests, my mountains, my ice. I gave them prey that ran. I gave them weather that killed. I gave them competition. She turned slowly, the shadows of her creatures pacing at her side like loyal memories. And I watched which ones adapted. Rashtal's core dimmed slightly. You speak of predators, he said, not people. Gaia tilted her head. Do you think your people emerged from crystal? Did you imagine evolution without claw? Or are you just afraid to admit, I taught mine what you tried to forget? The spirits said nothing, because they remembered their own first ages, and they remembered what it meant to be prey. Mine rose from the bones of giants, Gaia whispered, and they never stopped climbing. The beasts of mist faded, but Gaia remained still, unblinking. Her edges flickered like mountains under thunderclouds, and when they mastered every creature I gave them, she said, I gave them a harder lesson. She paused. I gave them each other. Velthera's glow pulsed uneasily. You speak of the wars, the purges, the scars your world still carries. Yes, Gaia answered, without shame. I watched them burn cities, bury their oceans in blood, split the skies with fire they barely understood. Corin flared. You call that wisdom? Gaia turned toward him. No, I call it restraint. A silence followed, sharp and immediate. Do you think they warred for pleasure? She asked. No, they warred for control. They warred to hold each other back, to stop themselves from reaching too soon, from leaving the nest before their feathers were hardened. She drifted forward again, voice rich and low. They held each other down, because I taught them that fear without understanding leads to destruction, and they feared the stars, feared what lay beyond them, feared you. So they turned inward, they bled themselves clean, again and again, until the only thing left to fear was what they could become. Theron hissed. You made them violent. Gaia did not deny it. I made them honest. Her form split for a moment. Not in pain, but recollection. Continents shifting, cities burning, towers falling, satellites crashing into sand. Every war taught them balance, that power is not a crown, it is a burden. She let the silence settle. And now, when they war, they do so with rules, with memory, with ghosts at their backs and consequence in their hands. She faced them all now. You taught your children peace by denying them war. I taught mine peace by making it cost. The halo beyond grew still again. No stars pulsed, no spirit stirred. Gaia, layered in mist and fault line, no longer looked like the weakest among them. And now, she smiled, not with warmth, with certainty. But even that, she said softly, was not my most important gift. You speak of violence, strategy, power. Those are tools. She stepped closer, each motion like shifting plates beneath the sea. I gave them something else, something you gave up long ago. The other spirits seemed to lean, not physically, but in presence, a subtle recentering, as if they felt it before she named it. I gave them spite, Corin flared, a flaw, a toxin, emotion twisted inward. No, Gaia replied, a memory with a spine. She moved among them now, not encircling, but pressing gently into their gravitational spaces. You laughed at me, she said to Therin. You called me cracked, too warm, too chaotic. And I remembered. She turned to Velthera. You called them broken, fractured, primitives. And I made sure they'd never forget how that felt. Her voice darkened, not louder, just heavier. Spite is what made them climb the peaks their elders warned them not to. Spite is what made them return to ruins with rebuilt tools. Spite is what made them take a shattered world and call it home anyway. Spite, she said clearly, is the shadow of survival, the voice that says you may kill me, but you will remember I existed. A low pulse echoed from her core. Images appeared in the void, a burning city rebuilt into a spaceport, a soldier carrying an enemy's wounded child, a satellite made from the scraps of a failed invasion, a hand reaching out, not for peace, but for proof. My children were not taught to love easily, but they remember everything, and they do not forgive quickly. She paused. When they rise, it will not be to ask permission. The halo beyond had grown heavy, not with noise, but with consideration. The spirits who once chuckled in harmony now stood motionless, as if orbiting a question they couldn't quite name. Rastal, forged from fire and conquest, was the first to break. If what you say is true, then why have they not come? Gaia said nothing at first, not to dismiss, but to let the question live. Then gently, because they were not ready, until now. Coran's corona flared, faintly this time. They see the stars, we know that. They speak to machines, they listen for gods, why wait? Gaia's form shimmered, thunderclouds roiling softly over her shoulders. Because I did not build them for wonder, I built them for consequence. The others shifted uneasily. She looked at them each in turn. You opened the stars with peace, with treaty, with trade. I opened the earth with blood, teeth, and memory. Therin, quiet now, whispered, You made them a weapon. Gaia nodded. No. I made them a warning, a pause, long, still. Then Velthera, voice like ripples through a frozen ocean, They will not be welcome. Gaia responded without pause. They do not expect to be. Coran's glow dimmed. And if they are challenged? Gaia's presence cooled, hardened. Then may the stars pray their children were loved as fiercely as mine were owned. The halo beyond trembled, not from Gaia, not from rage, but from something else, a tone, a pulse, soft, steady, deliberate. Each spirit felt it in their own way. Coran in the fluctuation of solar wind, Velthera in the frayed edge of thought threads, Therin in a sudden absence of reflection on his glass-coated moon. It wasn't a weapon, it wasn't a message, it was a presence. Gaia did not glow, she did not rise, she simply stood, wrapped in the weight of tectonic silence. They've launched, Velthera whispered, half to herself. A signal. No, not a signal, a trajectory. Coran burned brighter, not in fury, but fear. It's charted, controlled, targeted. Rastal's lava core flared. Toward whom? Gaia's voice returned at last, quiet, maternal, and carved from stone, toward the ones who looked down. No one spoke, not even to deny it. Because they felt it now. That spite she had gifted them, that memory they carried in their marrow, that knowing smile in the dark. The image unfurled between them. Not a fleet, not a declaration. A single vessel, crude, scarred, elegant only in its intention. Painted on its side, beneath layered hull plating stitched together from generations of failed ascents, we remember. Gaia did not move, but her final words rang out like truth chiseling into myth. You asked why I still harbor primitives. She stepped into the light, no longer mist and soil, but volcanic glass and iron root. I never did. I raised predators with memories, artists with long grudges, survivors who saw the stars and waited until they could enter them on their own terms. Now they are not reaching. A pause. The ship vanished into the dark between systems. They are arriving.